Hello, this is the Load Bearing Beams podcast. This is our ongoing recap of the Apple Plus TV series Severance, which we call the only good TV show. This miniseries of ours, we call it Lumen is Listening. Lumen's listening, and so are we. Welcome to Lumen is Listening. I'm Matt S.
And I'm Lacey R. And I have, Matt, what you would call shoulder-length hair.
Yeah, okay.
That's how they describe how they are in season 1 when they're rolling the red ball to each other and or something like that. That's how they introduce her.
You just watched a season 1 episode. Well,
no, I didn't.
Okay. Well, I was watching a season 1 episode myself. And,
so then you're not fair.
Yeah, I know. So it wouldn't have been fair of me to say that, but there's a lot of stuff happens in that first season. Maybe we should be bringing up, but we've not been. We've been neglecting our duties, trying to figure out the deal with this Miss Regani, the rogue Severance doctor. But we'll get into that. We're discussing the 3rd episode of Severance, Season 2, Episode 3. The episode is called Who is Alive? It was originally released yesterday, January 31st, 2025. The episode was directed by Ben Stiller, his 2nd episode of the season. It was written by Wei-Ning Yu, a writer for the 1st season of Severance and also of the Hulu show The Dropout, the Elizabeth Holmes series. We liked that show, I think. And as a reminder, we do spoilers for the show. Don't watch this or listen if you've not watched the episode of Severance.
Really don't even know why you would be.
So the episode, Who is Alive? Who is alive, though?
More people than I imagined.
Yeah, we got a lot of people, basically everybody, except remember...
A lot of new faces.
Even though we just watched the entirety of season 1 like a couple weeks ago, I totally forgot that the previous head of Severance Security just gets murdered with a baseball bat and then the body disposed of. And then Mark kind of acts like that never happened.
It was a bad day.
Yeah. Because in this episode, when he sees the woman who did the killing, he's like, oh, you, go away,
yeah,
you.
Right. Oh, not you again with your murders.
What'd you think of this big picture? Do you like the episode? You dislike the episode? What do you think?
I mean, I liked it. I have a feeling I'm going to like all of them. It's my 3rd favorite of the 3 so far. But I understand that this show's going to go a lot of places, has a lot of track it needs to cover in this season. And so this episode was a lot of teeing up, and it's hard to get excited for all of it when some of it could be a red herring or some things even the show might forget to come back to. So I don't want to waste time with goat people if that's not anything. And,
when we were watching it and when it concluded, you said, so I'd say that's my first B of this season. I was like, thank God. Because something felt a little off about this. It's great television.
Still good.
Still very good. Still very entertaining.
To me, there's, what would you say? There's like 7 main people in the show.
Yeah.
And
6.
Right. But to me, there are 11, because each version, there's an innie and an outie, and both of those seem like different people to me. And I think I'm bummed that I'm losing 2 of those people, because in reintegrating Mark, we no longer have his pure outie or his pure innie, and there's a part of me that was bummed to see that so fast. I knew that would happen, but
I get it, because
the show's about to change in a very huge way, and I already know I like the show as it is. So, assuming
it sticks with that change, and there isn't, oh shit, the reintegration's on the fritz, and then
the show doesn't do that.
I know, but yeah, I like I just love the challenge of how do I sneak messages in and out, and it seemed like this episode was going to be one. Oh, that's not going to work. We'll try another one next time.
Right, here's a different one.
And honestly, I could watch that for like 4 straight seasons.
I know, and just the in the discovery I know there's lots to discover just in the building in general, and having Mark going in there and pretending to just be exactly who he is and having all the time in the world having more of an intensity and reason for what he's doing on that floor, that could be interesting too. But this feels like cheating. I'm sure it'll still be really great. I feel like I knew the show very well and where it was in its paces, and now this will shake up the dynamic of absolutely everybody we've come to know and enjoy watching. His becoming, uniting his innie and his outie changes everything for everything exterior and everything interior, and it's just
Yeah, so hard to make a judgment right now. But what was chafing me a little bit, and we will get to this when we talk about this part of the episode, on our Patreon episode, patreon.com/loadbearingbeams, where we recapped season 1 of Severance, I was telling you how I was reading these interviews with Dan Erickson, the creator of the show, and Ben Stiller, the primary director of the show. They were talking about how seriously they're taking the mysteries of the show, because in 3 years since the show aired, they see all these people on Reddit playing detective. What does all this stuff mean? What do the numbers mean? What does Lumen really do? And I said, that makes me a little worried, because that's not what I come to the show for.
Right. No, I want to see what I couldn't even think to wonder.
Yes, I love that you put it that way. If you come up with anything that friggin' Redditors come up with is not, if the show actually does it, it's going to be boring. And I guess I'm a little poisoned by shows like Westworld, where it's like, you have no idea how deep this goes, and you stumble upon a new world, and he's like, fuck, what's going on over here? Goat world? Huh?
Right.
And it's cool. It's an arresting image. Yes. And I like Gwendolyn Christie, and I like, this is the kind of thing where I hope none of this ever gets explained, but also that could be frustrating if we never got answers. Like, what's going on with these goats?
Right. I don't want it to be Mad Libs. I don't want there to be this random big spectacle every now and then because we need to fill up time, or we just want to keep up this idea that there's spectacle down here and big set pieces. I don't care. I just need there to be a somewhat meaningful point for all of the places they take us. I don't mean they need to tie up nice. Mm-hmm. I just don't want it to waste my time.
Which happened on Lost. And there's a specific example where in the season 2 finale, they're on a boat, they float past a giant foot statue. And they're like, why does that foot have only 4 toes? And it was this thing that fans on the internet obsessed over for years. And the creators of Lost, Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, basically said, like, I don't know, we just thought it looked cool. And it was like, hey, this will fuck with, I don't know. And like,
this will fuck.
I agree with that mindset. Just kind of like, show me something cool. And they realized how mad fans would be if they never explained it. So they had to come up with something. And what they can come up with is never going to be that interesting. Turns out there's a statue of a big guy, 4 toes. I don't know.
That's old Forto. That's why they made the statue. He was an oddity.
Okay, you want to get into the episode itself?
I think that we should. I don't remember if season 1's credits, besides looking amazing, had as many tie-ins with what we would actually learn, but it does seem to be that these credits have a piece of every episode in them. So it's making me look at everything,
A piece of every individual like, what do you mean?
So far. I mean, they have the entire goat world in there, which wouldn't have made any sense until we saw this episode, that's in the credits. Mm-hmm. What's another example? I didn't rack these up, but they are specific things that we can't know until we see these different episodes intertwined in the credits, not just these abstract ideas of what does it mean to be of 2 minds and work going into personal life and all this, kind of like abstract shit. But there's literally like all the different people on these different broken up chunks of ice, and then a car in the water in between these big ice. So anyway, when we right away, when we dip into this opening and all there is snow, and it seems to have been snowing the entire time we've watched this show, I think they're on an ice island. Yeah. No thanks, because they don't show you the opening until after they show you all this part. So it's like watching it 3 times is making me a little crazy.
Yeah, maybe.
Look at ice island, Matt.
It kind of is an ice island.
It looks like an ice island. Ice looks cracked. Anyway, okay, we open to a car zooming into what looks like absolutely nothing for miles.
No. So this car isn't zooming. This car's parked on the side of the road. We have an aerial shot, vast, empty, Fargo-esque nothingness, Fargo. just a barren road and snow in every direction. But this little car parked at the side of the road. Who is in this car? We are all wondering. Well, we're going to find out, because a big truck zooms by, wakes up the occupant of the car, and it's Harmony Cobell herself, Patricia Arquette. She wipes off the foggy windows. Is there a reason her car isn't on? Because she's very cold. But she hasn't run out of gas, because she inserts a tape into the tape deck. It starts playing, and then she starts going.
Was her car not on?
It was not on because she was cold.
Doesn't.
And because the windows were fogged up. It happens if your car's off. Only has so much gas. Now, the song that's playing is a 1994 song, Love Spreads by the Stone Roses. The Stone Roses?
Part of them.
Very important British band from the early 90s. They were like the precursor to Oasis and Blur. The Stone Roses basically had a giant first album and then waited 6 years to follow it up, and they had a disappointing second album. This song's from the disappointing second album.
Okay, no, I've definitely heard this song.
Okay. It is, I guess, the first song that's played in the show where it's like, oh, that's a real song that I can vaguely am aware of. So maybe this show takes place on some version of Earth.
Right.
So Mark pulls into first he's getting ready. The first thing we see is a photo of Gemma, and then we see him putting on the watch that he'll use to prepare for his mission. Gets out of his car, starts the stopwatch and jogs to the building.
No, he is with purpose. This is the first time I could remember the show having shining sun. These characters are moving with intentionality. Whoever Miss Cobell in the car, him waking up, putting on his snazzy watch that he busts out of a box that just seems new and exciting, and he's on a fucking mission. We don't know what, but like he's got this fire in him that we have not seen before. Can you remember the last thing we see him do from this second episode? Where does that end? It does. Like the first and the second just really are the same thing, just told different ways.
It ends with him talking to Patricia Arquette, and she speeds up.
Yes.
Drives.
Okay. I was like, what happened between those two moments where now he does want to talk to his sister about possibilities? Okay, go on.
He got the nod of recognition from Patricia Arquette.
I'm an idiot.
Your wife is alive. So we don't know why, but he's timing
right.
Time management gurus will say you should do this with every aspect of your life. Time how long it takes you to take a shower. Time how long it takes you to get dressed. That way you can be a master of your time and give an accurate. Is that what he's doing? No, we'll find out this is not what he's doing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But you wondered, like, he has to go and check in at a desk and have a receptionist make a call.
A call with no words, and then just a knowing nod. And then he, like, come on, every day we're doing this?
And knowing how many severed employees are here, like, how does this work?
Do they all check in at the same desk?
Yeah.
They all go up the same elevator. We don't know that either. Maybe each department has its own elevator.
We have so many questions about the elevators. Hey, I'd watch just an
Otis episode.
A logistics. I'd be surprised if we don't get that. If we don't get an episode that's just
like
a different department.
The underworld of Disney World, where we just find out how it's all made.
Yes. I'd love a logistics.
And that's where they can pop in the man from the first episode who's just in the background of him when he checks out the empty wellness center. Because that man's not come back yet.
Yeah.
Random looming man.
You can find that guy.
Looming. Mm-hmm. Everything from his perspective, please.
On the inside, we go in the inside. Hey, it's the first time this season where we've gone from the outside world into the inside world. And Annie Mark is making these copies of a sketch of Miss Casey, a.k.a. Gemma. Irv has drawn these, and he and Mark and Helly are leading a mission out into the other departments to show these flyers. And they're like, hey, Dylan, you coming? And he's like, yeah, totally. Just no.
Speaking of sketches, Dylan's being sketch. I'd also like to mea culpa here. I will eat the crow. That is the fact that Helly is wearing a fucking turtleneck. I went on and on last episode about how they don't wear anything to let you know what season it is outside. I mean, she looks stylish as fuck in that, but that's a winter shirt.
Oh, it is?
I mean, it's a turtleneck. Male chick wore a turtleneck. You know what? I come off the cuff sometimes. I'm not thinking it through. All right, go on. Just wanted to say that.
Okay, I forgive you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dylan, he's being non-committal and not explaining why. But no, I want to help you. I'm in a groove,
He's in a groove.
with these numbers. These numbers, gotta mind them.
Well, we gotta meet our quota somehow, so might as well let Dylan do it while we're doing espionage, you know?
And if you remember the first episode, Mr. Milchick took Dylan aside and he said,
Yes.
Here, look what we're doing. Now, this is just between you and me. You're very special. We're building a family visitation suite. Keep this on the down low. So Dylan's got this like, I love my friends. I love the mission. However, I also really want to talk to my Audie's family.
Right. I've got the curiosity of a human being that is starved for information. And even if my Audie knows everything, I'm not him. And I want to meet her. Gretchen? What's a Gretchen?
And there might be and Mr. Milchick took me into his confidence and I wouldn't want to disappoint him. That's Mr. Milchick.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like Dylan's a little too smart for that, but Because he's the one that's always been more damn the man than any of them. Now he's company man.
That's what it happens. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Irv, his job is to go down to O&D. That's where Christopher Walken used to work, but he is nervous because he hasn't been there since Christopher Walken, Bert left. Again, no Christopher Walken. 3 episodes in, we've only seen his face like for a second.
Yeah.
But Mark's like, you can do this. And he's like, I know. And then they're talking like, do you really think they're going to let us wander around? Because they said it's different now. You can wander the hallways freely. We're not watching you. We're not listening. And Mark says, they said that in the video. They said we could go wherever we want. Lumen is listening. Don't you remember? And then Dylan and Irv correctly point out that seemed to very pointedly have a suggested double meaning. Lumen's listening. We're here for you guys. And we hear every fucking thing you say. And like, they could also we could find out they have fucking implants or something in their head so they know everything that they see or even everything they think. I mean,
whispering happens in the scene or a little bit later and Mrs. Wong can hear the shit out of that whispering. Mm-hmm. So, I will say after watching it 3 times, which maybe I shouldn't, this is the first episode where I feel like Helly is acting sus.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I know. There's something about her that seems like she's kind of giving everybody a little bit of what they need to just keep it going a little. So here's she can tell Irv is feeling resistant to his mission, so she just holds his hand and she's not giving him any affection before, and she doesn't say something like really sweet or like insightful. She says, "We've got you," which is a corporate thing to say. It's not it's a, hey, we're a team. We've got this, but we've got you.
It's solidarity and human connection and physical contact.
I need to stop making goddamn predictions.
Well, somebody commented that there's a theory that Helly is only secretly. I know you know that, Lacey. I'm talking to everyone else.
Don't talk to them.
That Helly is being a double agent here, that she's going in as the Audi evil CEO Helly. And I say,
she's evil.
I think if you're a CEO, you're evil. She is doing this. The main reason I don't think that's happening is because that's not interesting. That's not dramatically interesting.
You're right.
So she squeezes his arm, and this is the first of a couple times where physical contact with Irv is going to be really important. We've got you. This gives Irv some resolve. I can go down to O&D. I can.
Yeah. Only he doesn't. I mean, he does, but first he asks and checks with Dylan to see if he'll go find the hallway.
And then
him.
Dylan won't, and he still goes
You're
anyway.
Right.
That's when are we brave? Is it when we have the absence of fear? No, it's when we have fear and yet act anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Helly asks Mark, what are we going to do if we actually find Gemma? What are we going to do then? And Mark's like, well, I'll take her to the staircase and then we'll blip out and then my Audi will know what to do.
Which is a good answer.
Sounds like you got this all figured out. And then they stop walking. And Mark is like, hey, are you okay with this? Helping me out with all of this? Because we left this in a place
right
where at the end of last season, before they went on their adventure on the outside, they had a little kiss. And it's like something's going on with Helly and Mark, the innie versions of themselves.
Just kiss that man. They missed their moment there. There was totally a moment to kiss right here with the lots of cute staring, great face acting. But Mark is the one that snapped out of it. He's distracted. He has a mission. It's not a Helly mission. Last season, his mission was Helly. It's not now.
Well, one thing I love about this show is how it takes all these different relationship dynamics and looks at them. So what must this be like for Helly to realize I'm not his mission anymore? And that sucks. And I care about the mission. I care about worker solidarity, but I'm also kind of jealous of his dead wife, who's not even really his wife. And then, it's like you date a man's wife dies. He starts dating a new woman and she has to live with the metaphorical ghost of the dead wife.
Right.
Who she has to be respectful of. And maybe the man still loves the old wife.
And she really didn't probably think this through, because if she's doing this because she cares for him, the end result of this mission is either they find out Miss Casey's dead or they just can't ever find her, and then Mark is forever changed by that, or they find her and then Mark never comes back again, because you find a dead person in the outside world, you're not going back in probably, so she's working toward the demise of whatever it is that they have.
That's true.
In any way that it ends,
and having to do it for reasons that are moral. We need to find this, we need to find his dead wife. And if I truly love him, what would it say about me if I did not help him do that?
Well, it's our only option. He's going to be doing this, so he's going to be doing this with or without me.
So yeah, she's like, yeah, of course, I'm okay helping you. And he's like, okay, good. And then they just stare and smile awkwardly at each other. Seems like they're about to kiss, but then they don't. Very great little moment here from Adam Scott and Britt Lower.
Yes, I love her smile at him. Her big sideways smile.
Yeah, first of a couple of people staring and smiling and the meanings of smiles changing over the course
the face acting
of a
in
minute
this
or so. Yes,
in this show is amazing.
And then Mark like mumbles something. He's like, "Oh, hey," walks off.
Okay, so a part of the reason why I have this mug here, the big staring blue eyes, is number one, because hardly anyone blinks in this fucking show. And number two, this goddamn scene, Milchick's Buttermint, these these paintings that the board creates for him, they bothered to, we'll go into it. But they bothered to make a African-American version of all of these paintings and still give the man blue eyes. You can give him brown eyes. He still had to be a blue-eyed black person. It's such an empty fucking gesture in a million ways. But
well, let's explain what happens.
Let's.
So Milchick, he comes into work. He's got his awesome badass leather jacket on. He's taking his motorcycle and he's shedding it off into his
seems
dorky
edgy.
work top.
I can't remember his last scene.
Edge.
Going back and forth, I'd have to watch both of the first two episodes to exactly remember where he's left off. He's never in a great situation. He has a precarious role, no matter what you leave.
No, it sucks.
He's a middleman. He's not liked below. He's not liked above. It's a lonely spot.
No, it sucks to be this person.
Yeah, at least him and Miss Cobell had each other in the first season, even though there wasn't like a very warm bond. They had each other. Now he is him and a child, which he probably doesn't know any better than anyone else why there's a child here. But he probably feels like he's being supervised in some kind of way because that child's a mystery. And he's got a promotion, but is being supervised in a sense by a child.
Yeah, and I guess this child is doing his old job, which like, hey, what does that say about how much we respect you?
Exactly.
We gave a fucking child can do your job. But he enters and he sees Mark's droopy balloons from days ago. He's like, Mark didn't even bring his balloons and enjoy them back at his office.
Right.
So he angrily collects them and he goes into his office, and then Natalie, the villainous Natalie, like, looks like your balloons could use some coffee. I've got the board. So the thing with the board, which is totally real and totally exists, the board has a little speaker box that you talk into and they respond into a Bluetooth headset earpiece that's in Natalie's ear. And it's just the most psychological torment, the most destabilization. This entire company, all the way up and down, whether you're severed or not, is about we're going to give you as little information as possible. In fact, we get off on not giving you information. So you can't know even things like when our call has ended. The call's been over for a minute or so.
And all of it is a test. And your reaction, response is just being scrutinized. And I mean, God, how do you even go take a shit? I feel like there'd be a camera in the toilet going, you need more fiber.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Every, I think Blade Runner 2049, people check that movie out.
Give it a check.
Where like your emotions get measured so much and you have to like pass like routine exams, like how are your emotions doing today if you can even proceed to a new thing? And it's like, you have no idea how to even pass. Natalie, the board says hello.
The board says hello.
Yes. I want to praise this actress. The acting on the show
is phenomenal.
Is universally great up and down. This is Sydney Cole Alexander. I have not seen her in anything else looking at her credits, but this is like maybe my favorite all-time evil HR corporate persona.
Yes.
Maybe the best on the show, and never more unsettling than in this scene right here.
Yes, where she goes from one side of Milchick, she hands over the gift. He hasn't yet opened it, but he's trying to open it. And she pans from one shoulder around his back to the next, and they never take the camera off of her and somehow not off of him. And she does not blink. She's like a 360 camera, the way that she's like rotating and like monitoring every side of in front and every part of him. I couldn't think of a word.
So the agenda for this, meeting with the board is, hey, please do prostrate yourself before the board and say the right things that we promoted you. And also, we're going to give you the most baffling present ever. You better have the right reaction to it. So he says, I want to thank the board humbly for my recent betterment. But as he says this, Natalie like sticks up her finger to hush him. She's like listening to on her earpiece. And she says, they say you're welcome. The board is jubilant at your ascendance. They want you to feel appreciated and asks if you do. The board austerely desires for you to feel connected to Lumen's history. To that end, please accept from the board these inclusively recanonicalized paintings intended to help you see yourself in Kier, our founder. So there's so much going on here. Can you describe the paintings?
Yes. So they are a full set of Kier's hero arc, but done in a style making Kier look African American the entire way through. It is so fucking odd. Such a beautiful representation of a hollow DE&I effort, or a purely white board, like think tanking. What would a black person really find meaningful, and just completely being tone deaf and empty on what they actually produce, and also patronizing, like a child, like, oh, the child just needs to see themselves in their award, then they'll know it's really special, as if this is how simple Milchick's brain is.
Yeah, and she says inclusive. We've done an inclusive thing. We've now. But it's like they're also whitewashing or black. It's black. I think blackwashing is a term, but you use diversity as a sort of shield against the evil things you're doing.
Right.
And Milchick is not given a choice in this matter.
No.
He's just, by accepting this position, you are agreeing to totally endorse all the evil shit we do. And we're going to put it out there. I mean, I don't know if this means this is our new PR campaign. Look at these paintings. But the message here is like, we now view you as being totally a part of the continuity of history of this company, cynically utilizing his status as a black man to add diversity to this company that's owned by a white family. And then Tramell Tillman here, he plays this as a mixture of like, well, a lot of things at once. Disturbed, confused, baffled, scared, knowing he needs to, maybe even, but also a little touched. All of these weird people, this is the way they show their appreciation. But this is the first time I think we see on his face, like, I am not sure about this fucking place.
Well, and what do these people actually think of me? I mean, they clearly think of me as the black guy, because I do not remember Miss Cobell or anyone ever mentioning getting a series of Kier paintings that depict Kier as a female. Like, this is specifically, you're black. We've made black paintings for you. And, obviously Natalie is also forced to say over, the board tells her to say, and I also received a set.
The board
I love them.
The board wishes to express that. I love this sentence. The board wishes to express that Natalie. The board wishes to express that Natalie, received the same gift upon my receipt of my current position and found it extremely moving. So here's how you felt.
Say all of this, Natalie, right?
And Natalie is also black. So, this is what we're doing now.
And her eyes, that expression, she's saying it felt very Get Out, the movie for me, because the face is competing with what it's being asked to say versus how it feels to say it. And it's just so amazing. I'm confused. I'm like, no, I don't get it. You get happy, no sad. And you go, you're upset. We'll go scream.
You mentioned Get Out. Jordan Peele's next movie, Us. I think a big thing that movie's grappling with is as the American dream expands to open to be attainable for more different kinds of people. One of the things that's terrible about that is that it also makes you complicit in the evils that this country does. Hey, ascending in this company,
right?
A thing it means is now you get to share in all the evil shit we do.
If you want to rise, you're standing on the shoulders of people who committed crimes, or you're climbing up a ladder of crime.
You will have to do it too.
Right. Yes, you will. So you're buying in.
So what he says is, I'm grateful. I find it moving. It's meaningful to see myself reflected in. And then he looks over at Natalie and she's like, the board has concluded the call.
We don't even need your
And she smiles terrifyingly at him, but it kind of changes so that you feel like there is a moment of
There's
identification between these
Yes.
two. Of we have to eat a lot of shit here.
And we're both terrified because this is as high as we've ever rose in this fucking city. This city sucks. Where we live sucks. Our lives have sucked. This is as best it's gotten. And it also is getting terrifying and horrible the closer we get to power.
This city also seems to be the only city on Earth we can't actually get away from here.
We have no proof that anyone's ever gotten outside of this city.
If we drive to the end of the road, we just hit the globe.
Well, it is very interesting to me that Cobell... Are we talking about this yet?
We'll get to that. Well, go ahead.
Well, we will come back to Cobell and we will see that she's driving and gets to a sign that says that the next location is another 240 miles away, and she's surprised. And it's like, you're in your 60s or I don't know, whatever age she is. You didn't know this. You don't know simple geographic information about where you were, I assume, born. It's fucking frightening.
Or you could read it as her just deciding, like, I need to go back. I want to go back. This I've lost enthusiasm for my escape plan. I got to go back and make it right. So back in the MDR, Irv is now showing Dylan, or at least he tells Dylan about a sketch he has done about...
You already told him about it. Oh, I'm sorry. The painting. Yes.
Back when he got to do the overtime contingency, go be his Audi, he saw that his Audi painted all these paintings of a dark and scary hallway with an elevator at the end of it. And he has recreated it inside in his little sketchbook. So he tells Dylan about it and he says, hey, maybe the two of us could go look for it together. And Dylan's like, oh yeah, totally. I'd love to. But actually, can you do it by yourself? Instead?
For stealth.
For stealth.
And Irvin's like, for what? What do you mean? And then they both look and there's Miss Hong, just fucking creepy as all shit. And if you remember back to season 1, the way that Milchick would just appear and his face would be blank, but then he'd put a smile on it. This anticipation, this like wondering, this, okay, you're here now. Are you happy with us? Are you sad with us? Okay, you're smiling. Is that real? Like this constant like playing with your emotions and anticipation and expectations of, that's a lot of words.
Yeah, it's company policy. You never let an employee know immediately what you feel or what's going on.
Exactly. You wait for this fear on their face or the respect or whatever it is you clock it as, and then you give them the smile. And this is So now Dylan is being asked to go with her. And this is the first time this is addressed, when in the first season you're screaming it the whole time, like, just tell us where we're going. He at least says it here, like, hey, is this chill?
Can you just tell me where we're going?
Like, why this long, quiet, fucking such a damn power play? And then he knows it's a losing battle, so he switches back to the other topic of, is it rude to keep asking why you're a child? I love the way they phrase things.
Why are you a child?
Why are you a child? Because of when I was born.
And are people like forcing you to be here? But of course, they're all being forced.
They're all being forced, right? But I think it's nice. He knows he's a dad and he's just checking. And I mean, fucking silence. And he realizes where he's going. And now he's scared. Like, not only does she bring him to the place where he attacked Milchick. What is wrong with me? Milchick. There. Now I got it. He was fired over this room, what he did in this room. Why should he think he's being brought somewhere good? He knows the room that he's outside of. And she unlocks the door, uses the thing, and then makes him open the door. It's all so fucked. It's just so... they're not nice, is what I'm trying to...
Something's up with this company.
I don't think they're being nice.
He goes into this room and it's not scary. What? Mm-hmm. A collage of photos of me with my wife on the wall? They
repurposed all these security camera monitors. Now they're just showing the most boring slideshow ever. Weird repurposing. Thank you.
And then in the background, a new character. This is Dylan's wife, Gretchen, played by the great Merritt Wever. She started talking. I was like, wait, is that Merritt Wever? It is Merritt Wever. And Dylan has the best, Zach Cherry, great in this episode, has the best goofy childlike expression on his face as he realizes what's happening. Miss Huang says, Dylan G, through good behavior and output, you've earned an 18-minute visitation with your Audi's wife, Gretchen G. Your time, she even has to give the person who doesn't work here a last initial. So she leaves, and Merritt Wever comes up and she's like, so like, Should we sit?
Right.
Okay. Now, I said 2 episodes ago, like, we'd have no idea. He'd have no idea of knowing if this is actually his wife or they're just hiring some actors. And as this starts, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be an actor. But as soon as the scene starts, I decide, no, this has to be real because, like, this is just too good and interesting.
Right.
Because, again, they just throw another wrinkle that you have to think of a woman now getting to visit with her husband who's not a multiverse version of her husband. What a fascinating thing to think about.
I put myself there and I was just like, what a cool thing to get to tell Matt stuff about me all over again. And I know we'd hit it off again, but now I could just like refine it all to be the coolest version of myself. I already know everything he's not going to like.
Well, but no, or
I don't know.
You could be totally wrong because he could be an entirely, you start from the same set of stuff, but
I know.
It all could change because you're all going in a different direction.
Fine. But this is the first time that where you see the limitations of like the education they've had inside of these 4 walls and just the stuntedness of being a person who's never seen windows. These fake windows in this room are so jarring and you're like, oh right, because there's no windows. Does he even know this is a window simulation? How would he know that? But like, you know, he's an indoor kid and he's just got all these kid words like badass, sack, awesome, cool.
You immediately spotted that she has a clear bag.
I was like, yeah, it's like she walked into a stadium so she can't bring any contraband. And he's like, nice sack. And she's, excuse me? Oh, they made me put my stuff in here.
Cool.
No.
Badass.
Like, do you think she's saying something cool? And like, it's like, wow, no, you really don't know a lot down here.
And so both of these actors are playing this with such wonder. Mm-hmm. And I think Merritt Weaver's doing a good job of showing how surreal this is. Suddenly talking to the person you know best in the world, but who is not. This isn't like talking to you. It's not like talking to somebody who has amnesia. It's talking to somebody who suddenly has totally different memories, but he still knows who you are.
He's been raised different.
Seth warned me this might be weird. Who's Seth? Seth is, and then Miss Huang comes on the loudspeaker. Please refrain from sharing information that may be privileged or sensitive.
The wife says something slightly different from that. It's don't you know? Like, you know, it's just funny what is assumed versus what is determined to be confidential.
So you are again destabilized. Hey, your private, you have no private moments here. You thought that email you sent on the company server was private?
Right.
No, motherfucker.
And then right with like a bonding moment because I'm like, yes, Gretchen says, who is that child? And I just want him to go, I know, right? And then hilariously, Mrs. Wong.
Miss Huang.
Miss Huang.
So he says, look, it's really nice to meet you, but am I in trouble?
Right.
It's like, no. Okay, listen, here's the deal. Now, this is also interesting because it's like, well, she's coming here because she has her own
motives.
Right, yes.
Exactly.
This isn't just about him.
Like, we don't have to use actors to manipulate him for other reasons. We can use his own freaking financial situation, family situation, dynamics in his relationship against him from the outside to the inside. We can get a perfectly sweet, well-meaning woman to come manipulate her fucking husband's innie.
Yes. So what she says is like, here's the deal. We have 3 kids and you, it's so confusing. My husband has had trouble keeping jobs.
He dumb?
So he says, he dumb? What?
No. He dick?
No. So is something wrong? So what is wrong with him? You know, now he's like making clear delineation.
Right.
He's not, this is not me. You're not, nothing's wrong with him. He never really found his thing. And so Dylan says, so he's like, he's kind of a fuck up.
Right.
And Merritt Weaver like is about to answer and then doesn't. So like she kind of thinks, I mean, yes, I guess so.
Yeah.
I love him, but yeah.
It hasn't quite been a 50-50 partnership.
And so this is a new, Helly learning that she doesn't like the version of herself on the outside.
Right.
Dylan also now may be realizing like, am I better? I don't know what better means, but just like kind of now rethinking what he thinks of his outie.
Have I been put in a position to succeed in here in a way that I couldn't seem to figure out there? They all think they're badasses outside and he just found out he's not.
And now maybe even like looking down on his outie a little bit. Like it's kind of pathetic. He's kind of a fuck up. How can you not just keep a job, idiot?
Right. And like, well, I've got to take care of this wonderful woman since he's not doing it.
Yes.
You know, and this new other even more mind-blowing thing of maybe it's possible for someone on the outside to prefer the inside version of the person they love.
Yeah.
And that might not be what's happening, but it's fucking complicated.
Yes, absolutely. And when we check in with Dylan's Audi later and he's saying goodbye to his wife, and then, yes?
Permission to fuck your innie. If I ever meet him?
Yeah, I was getting that. Yes.
I can.
Oh, yes, of course. Well,
I can get it.
God.
It's tricky. Like, what if you really want it? And you're the innie.
If I really want it, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up sex between innies. Like, what if you showed up and you were pregnant? You're like,
I said that for our first episode. Like that. How do you do
an
it?
STD, yeah. And then
Even a cold.
Do people get severance because they're like, well, I can cheat down there. It's not going to be me, but like, nice.
Different area code.
Still my dick.
Different floor level.
Yeah. What if you leave for work in the morning horny and you come back and you're like, I'm not horny anymore. What happened?
It's the elevator.
What happened?
It nukes your dick.
So they part. And Dylan says, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be good. I'll make you proud.
Oh, I'm always proud of you, Dylan.
I'm always proud of you, Dylan. She hugs him, says, I love you. And he is taken aback.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, sorry, habit. But they part. He has this great goofy awestruck grin on his face.
And then maybe the best shot of this episode is Miss Swan quickly closing the door. But what you see first is just her looking back at him. The last thing he sees is her going,
yeah.
I don't know. There's just something haunting about it. Like, what if that's the last time either of them see each other?
Well, then more humiliation, though. It's like you have to wait in the classroom for a teacher to come back to get you.
I didn't think about that.
So now Irv, he goes to O&D. What is optics and design?
How much he is like spiteful toward Mrs. Wong. Just he has not done anything but give her the most glaring side eye and at every opportunity. And this time, hall pass.
Yeah.
That's all he says to her.
Now she's not a Mrs. She's not
Ms.
So he goes to O&D, conspicuously no Bert here, but he sees the painting that he and Bert bonded over. And then Felicia comes out. She's like, Irving, it's good to see you.
It's so sweet. I didn't expect to be so moved by this.
Yes, this is the actress is Claudia Robinson.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. I was looking at her credits because this is also an actress I don't know. Mm-hmm. A lot of the characters she plays are like main character's grandmother. Like she plays characters who aren't named.
Oh.
Yeah.
She just has such a way. She's such a spiteful badass in the first season, and now this like loving, feisty, knowing. I guess the she just looks wise.
And is this because she loves Bert and loves him as a?
I think yes.
As a friend and knows what Irv means to Bert.
That, and also I think she realizes how little they're given down there. She's there for 6 years. She really formed a relationship with someone and he's gone. This might be the first time she's experienced someone retiring and didn't know what that would feel like. Or maybe she was just as upset as Irv was when it was all happening. How would we have even known, But they might be the only two to get it how hard it is to... This is still a rather new experiment, at least it is for them. And this is the biggest loss either of them have had. Mm-hmm. Someone leaving. That's it. It might as well be death.
Yeah, it is.
It is. I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, so Irv, again, is so moved by this human connection, human contact. So next we see them laughing their asses off, sharing stories about Bert. And it's the whole thing with this show is like, what makes a person is, the memories, the experiences that they go through. But in this, as a severed person, the only experiences you have are the things you work on. It's
okay. That's why it's funny to talk at work. You're not talking about all kinds of shit. You're talking about work stuff. It's like when me and my cousins get together, what do we talk about? Old shit we did together. It's just these like, these are the people recording your life. These are your narrators. These are your, bio writers. And just like, it's what everybody wants is to be gone one day and for people to just be telling stories about you. Yes. How else do you live?
That's the mark of a good life.
Or of a life. How else do you know that? Why else would it matter that you existed?
Yes. The other thing that is a sign of a good life is if Frank Sinatra's My Way is played at your funeral.
God.
Then you lived a life. I
can tell you the through line for those gentlemen. Number 1, Italian. Number 2, assholes. Not nice.
Yeah. Hey, I do things my way. What do you want from me?
To be nice.
So they tell some stories about Bert. One time a manager came in and Bert yelled at him he's like, don't you tell me how to print a snow globe. My God, he was fearless. But snow globe then gets me and Lacey's cackles up. And it's like, okay, I've said it every episode. I think Severance exists in the long lineage of sci-fi stories about simulated worlds, or let's just broaden it out, false worlds. So you can throw in movies like Inception,
The Matrix.
I mean, The Matrix is just a straight simulation. There's movies like Dark City, which is not a simulation, but it's a constructed world. But Snow Globe, Snow Globe, a whole world encased in a globe, but
being observed.
In television, there's a very famous Snow Globe ending of the show from the 80s, Saint Elsewhere, where the final scene of the show pulls out and suggests that the hospital of the show, the town of the show, all exists inside of a snow globe that is being played with by an autistic boy. The entire series has been the imagination of a nonverbal autistic boy. Jesus. This is like a very famous TV trope of the St. Elsewhere snow globe ending.
What year was this?
89, I think.
And they had a friendly representation of a nonverbal autistic boy?
I can't attest to the friendliness of the representation.
All right, then. That it existed at all.
The first thing you have to suggest when you're in a simulation is if you have simulated worlds, is that the real world, quote unquote, also is a simulation. You always have to suspect that is the case.
Yeah.
And with Severance, it's not exactly the same thing, but you have to suspect that the outside world might also be severed, might also be a total construction, and that there's a level up above that where people are unsevered or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of just joking that that's the case, but I feel like this episode is just throwing these suggestions at us, all these references to simulation theory and constructed worlds like the snow globe, and we'll detail them more as we go along.
The big revelation, though, in this scene with them two is that he shares with her the sketches that he did of Bert, and they're moving and lovely, but she keeps looking, and then she sees the sketch of the hallway, and she seems a little suspicious of him, or just maybe disturbed. But I just, of course, as a spectator, I'm like, tell her you're dreaming about it. You're not a fucking spy. But she says, what do you know? How do you know about the export hall? And he says, what are you talking about? And she said, well, we used to go down there all the time with shipments, but now they just send a guy. And she just seems very like hurt, or she does not feel good about this hallway.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And he says, do you remember where it is?
And then
it cuts
to goats.
I don't know.
3 times they cut to the fucking goats. I'm like, I get it.
Before we go to the goats, though, we'll check in with Miss Cobell, who seems to be just driving through hundreds of miles of snow, and again seems to almost be nearing the end of the simulation. It could be like the Truman Show, where he crashes into the background on his boat, or you just hit the globe and suddenly it turns into wireframes. She sees a road sign that says Salt's Neck, 238 miles. So like I Googled Salt's Neck, and all the results are Salt's Neck theories and Severance explained. No fucking thank you.
Speaking of things to look up, I looked up fetid moppet, and it means stinky child. Like it's both a really mean word to say mixed with an endearing thing to call a child is a muppet. So it's like it itself is a dichotomy, a confusing thing to say to someone that is both horrific and endearing. So this idea of not saying what you mean, like having some cover of like, oh, we were perfectly pleasant when we said the thing. So even the way that he talks to his daughter is like, what? I was being nice.
And he's talking in this elevated, like novelistic language that all of Lumen seems to exist in.
Yes, like frivolities or fripperies, which specifically means like ornamental way of saying things, not necessarily of something that is not needed to do. It's like an overly flourished way to say it. So I was like, they don't believe in wellness, like they don't take care of themselves, and it's like, no, they just don't call it that. We just don't say wellness, you fucking crunchy bitch.
Yeah, no, I mean, wellness is like a made up HR word.
It is, but it's not like but they clearly do have wellness sessions. They just don't call it that.
No, I know. The word moppet, funnily enough, because the word Muppet is like they invented it at a time where people probably said mop it more.
Right.
So Muppet is it's puppet and mop it. But now the word Muppet is so much more famous than a moppet. If somebody says moppet, you're like, you mean Muppet?
No, bop it, twist it, pull it.
So, I mean, yeah, is there really nothing more on the edge of this universe? Does Cobell realize this and decide to turn around? I don't know, but she looks over in her passenger seat and there's like a CPAP.
Two theories. Two theories.
Okay,
the first one was it's a CPAP, and that's why she woke up so startled. It's like she literally physically shouldn't not be plugged into her CPAP machine.
So CPAP machine is what you use for sleep apnea.
Right. So she can't, like, she might have gas and there might be a gas station, but she can't afford to sleep in her car again. That was my first theory. And then now that I realize how tied into whatever the fuck is going on with Gemma, I think maybe it's her evidence that Gemma lived past her accident, because whatever is down there on the floor seems to have a label on it, like a person's name I thought I saw. So I didn't know if it was maybe like the inhibitor or thing that Gemma had on her after the car wreck. I don't freaking know.
Yeah, I mean, it not being explained here means like, oh, pay attention to this.
Snorkel.
But, you know, I guess this could be in Montana or North Dakota or something. Like, I
don't see any buttes.
The show's filmed in upstate New York, but New York is filled with towns. Like, there's nowhere you could go where the closest town would be 238 miles away. It's not that empty.
Right. It's and then again, incredibly flat as well.
This could be Transylvania, like I said, metaphorical Transylvania. Lumen is Dracula's castle. They're sucking the blood out of everybody.
Doesn't it seem like there's plenty of hills and mountains and like different elevations and stuff inside the town? I feel like I remember them driving down a ways. I feel like the cabins were in the woods where for the fertility stuff, and there were mountains. Like, I feel like there's texture.
Yeah.
And then when you drive out, it's like nothing's rendered. So it's just this flatness.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which is, the computing power can't afford good graphics out here.
Just like, we're not used to someone coming out this far. You're going to have to make us render the map.
The designers, yes, copy, paste, flat, copy, paste, flat.
You went into the flatlands.
I've been in the flatlands for weeks.
That's a real thing in Minecraft.
So whether this is actually a simulation or a severed layer or whatever, the only thing that would suck about that is if
that's the thing. We don't know what we want. We want answers, but we don't want too many. We want reveals, but we want them to be clever, that we didn't think of them. So anything that we can sit here and think of, it's like, no, I thought of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I don't want to be able to guess.
Yet we're spending a lot of time making a podcast where we're watching the episodes over and over again. And so we keep guessing.
Sure. So the CPAP attachment's like, hey, I got to turn around. Makes her realize she got to turn around.
And this lady needs some sort of mood stabilizer. She's never not
got to go back to town. In the next scene, we meet up with Mark and Helly, and they are walking through the hallways that are in the section of the building where the lights only turn on when you pass under them. Okay, so this too is a simulation theory reference. So, Lacey, we just got to talk simulation theory in general.
Talk it to me.
Okay, so unfortunately, simulation theory is now pretty associated with Elon Musk, who fucking sucks. But if we can look past Elon Musk...
I always can.
We can just talk about this fun idea that the universe, our universe, is a computer simulation. And it's based on the hypothetical premise that if we get to a point where computing power advances to such a degree that entire universes then can be simulated, if we develop that technology, we should immediately assume we are ourselves inside of one, because we know they are possible. And the reason that is...
Yeah. What are the odds?
If you can make one, you can make 10 million of them. And then you being aware of anything means I can either be in one of the 100 million simulations or the one physical universe. I'm going with the numbers and assuming I'm in a simulated universe. And then you consider it doesn't have to be right now that the simulated universe gets invented. It could be 20 million years in the future. An alien could invent it. So then you have to consider there's a very real possibility that our universe right now is the simulation of an alien race 20 million years in the future, running lots of different iterations. Okay.
Look, so they're on their way to the goat hall. Are you done with your simulation bullshit?
Not yet.
All right. I feel like I'm in a simulation.
Okay, so one of the issues people raise with that is like, you can develop the most advanced processing power possible, but like rendering every little atom of the universe, that takes a lot. The counter to that is you only have to render what you're
people
looking
are using,
at.
Yeah.
And in quantum mechanics, which I totally understand,
blockchain,
at the subatomic level, electrons, protons, and neutrons, they only have a charge when they are measured. Which is exactly like a computer
stars.
graphic only getting rendered once you measure it, once you look at it.
Well, that's what's like stars. You ever look into the stars at night?
No.
They do not turn bright if you look at them. They're only bright when you're not looking at them.
Okay.
But if you pick one and look at it, it goes dim. There's just some kind of weird light refractory thing. It's like it turns it off.
So these lights that only come on when you're under them is like a quantum particle only getting a charge when you're looking at it, or a graphic in the machine in the simulation only rendering when you look at it.
Are you going to ask me to buy Bitcoin?
Well, no.
Feels like it's coming.
I don't know. You were telling me about Minecraft, and there's something about Minecraft that's like this.
I mean, yes, that you're given a seed and you go into that world, and that world has all the possibilities it ever could have based on that seed, but that no one will ever actually see what it's fully capable of, because only the parts that are traveled to ever get rendered. That is what Minecraft does.
Mark and Helly are looking for the goat room.
Yes, and it's very interesting. I love the side by side that you did here, because even this looks like a simulation, right? It's a world inside of a world. Not just the fact that there's a goat world, but the fact that there is a hallway that looks just like the big hallway. That's a small hallway. It's a world in a world.
Yep.
Yeah. The goat hallway.
Yeah, looking for the goat room, but they go into the goat room. This is the goat room, but there's no goats. But wait a minute, an opening.
What do you mean there's no? Oh, right.
It's a small hallway. It's like a hall. It's like
looks just like all the other white hallways.
It leads somewhere. Fuck it. Let's figure it out. They do. The thing I'm most scared of in the world is going into a small place and having to go a long distance.
Absolutely, but at least this one was well lit.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
So
but there is poop.
Mark starts crawling. Helly follows. He passes some goat shit and he says, "Careful, I tried to capture the way he says the word poop."
You're obsessed with this line delivery.
He says,
"There's poop."
Careful, there's pip.
There's pip.
Careful, there's pip.
Stop.
There's pip.
All right.
So they get to a doggy door at the end, and then both Adam Scott and Britt Lower have like big Spielberg face on. Whoa, my God. It's a room full of hills.
With goats, but a lot of fluorescent lighting.
Yes.
It's so jarring.
Yes. So artificial, but there's goats everywhere, and they're panning over, and suddenly we see what first appears like a black goat, and then no, it's a terrifying man in a goat
Q
costume.
shaman.
Yeah. It's Jacob Chansley.
And then the largest woman you never want to see running at you, it is Brienne of Tart.
Brienne of Tarth, herself, Gwendolyn Christie plays the goat
She's
lady.
Magic.
Runs out wearing boots and gloves, but also like professional attire.
Right.
And she's like,
and
she shouts, "Are you here to kill me?" Now, this is, of course, what Colonel Kurt says in Apocalypse Now when whoever it is who Martin Sheen plays finally gets to him. The river in Apocalypse Now is like the goat hallway in this. But yeah, it's Gwendolyn Christie, and Mark is immediately like, "Oh, no, we're not here to kill you." So he's still acting like he's in this professional setting. He's like, "I'm Mark. This is Hallie. We're from Macro Data Refinement." He's acting
normal. He's acting like himself. He's not company manning this shit. This is exactly how I would act.
"What is this place anyway?" And she says,
"Mammalian nurturables."
Mammalians nurturable.
Yeah, the thing I just said.
You made it singular. It's mammalians.
I said mammalians nurturable.
Well, let's check the tape.
I said nurturables.
Yeah, we mean you no harm. We just want to talk.
Okay,
so,
Matt. What do you notice about their outfits? What color are they? They are teal.
Okay.
Just wanted you to know.
I'm sorry, I'm not a color person.
Yes, but look at theirs compared to the ones that
they look the same to me.
Theirs have a hint of green. It's subtle.
I wish I had the Adobe paintbrush tool in life so I could tell.
I wish you fucking did.
I want Pantone numbers for everything so I could just know.
That's not what's in Adobe.
You're being ableist toward me.
Okay.
So Gwendolyn Christie is sitting at this bizarre desk that's built atop a mound of grass with a Lumen vending machine in the background. And Mark shows her the Miss Casey flyer and says, "We worked in wellness." And then she says, as Lacey said, "We don't abide such fripperies here as wellness." Are you sure you don't know her? Are you sure you don't know her?
Yeah, Mark can smell bullshit.
You should leave. But Mark insists you have to answer her. And instead she rings her cowbell and gets all these hills have eyes people to come out.
So terrifying.
From the mounds. You should have left. But Helly summons her courage, starts asking people, "Have you seen Miss Casey?" Gwendolyn Christie, the goat lady's like, we're going to call Mr. Milchick to come get you. And Mark's like, no, you can't, because they'll kill her. They'll kill Miss Casey if they find out. And she says, that's not Mammalians Nurturables' problem. And he says, no, that's an any problem. So what is he doing here, Lacey?
He is basically trying to summon the power of the many. He's unionizing.
That is exactly what he's doing. He is forming a union of sorts. We all have a common interest. We talk about ourselves in terms of these divisions. These divisions are totally artificial. Goat people, MDR.
We used to be scared of other departments too, he says.
Yeah.
And we're not scared. It's like, yeah, no, I get it. I'm saying these words that are triggering you. Yes, you're not scared, but you do think we're different than you in some sort of threatening way, or like we're under you or something. And it's like, no, we too have been fed these things. I just wish I could be their mouthpiece. So you're like, no, you're saying it wrong, Mark.
We all have a collective interest. We are all innies, you know? They can make one of us disappear, which means they can make any of us disappear. But if we all got together, we could do something about this. But the thing that actually wins her over is he's like, well, if one of your goats disappeared, you'd go looking for it, wouldn't you? And she's like, little tear.
There's a very interesting thing in the credits with the goats. The goats turn to people, and I don't want to fucking bake that, but it's like, what if these are the like, it's like they're learning how to make workers.
It's like Pinocchio. Well, do you remember that movie Sorry to Bother You? Great movie. Yeah. About sort of an Amazon factory where it's like, we're just trying to turn people into horses.
Like, why was I made? Kill me.
Yeah. Yes. If this show is about anything, the thing that this show is about more than anything is just exploitation of workers.
Efficiency at all costs, right?
So even if it's not literally turning them into goats, it's like the people, the goats, we are all just chum for the machine.
Well, and it's like, well, you know, it costs money to pay you humans. So why don't we get some humans whose entire job it is to see if we can actually pay goat or have goats do the job one day. We just won't pay them. We're having humans train the replacement, like AI, you know?
Absolutely.
Yes. The goats are the AI.
In Alien Romulus, they spent all this money to bring back fucking Ian Holm, who's dead, to do a deep fig of Ian Holm. And I was, you know, talking with people and they said it's not because they didn't want to pay an actor. This was so much more expensive than paying an actor. And my point was one day it will not be.
Right.
Right now it is.
They're grooming us now. They're just bringing it in. They're using all of the nostalgia that the little pulling on the little threads of their heartstrings. So we go, oh, but just this time. Oh, but it's Star Wars. Oh, but it's a treasured fucking yeah. You make little exceptions for it here and there for these special circumstances, and that's just something we do.
And yeah, we are cheering on our eventual replacement.
Yeah,
we will no longer need human actors in movies anymore.
Look how protective she is of these goats. She's been taught this is her entire life's work. She is the Cobell or the Milchick. Well, she's the Mark of this department, and you know this is her duty. She's been told her whole life that they are tough, they are hard working, they are different from other departments. They're all ragamuffin. You know, they all look alike in how they don't look like anyone else, and they come in looking all pristine and prissy and well groomed, and it's like, exactly, we fucking knew it. You look just like they always describe, those pampered macro data people. They're not saying that, but it is how it looks. Where's the manure? Where's the boots? You've got heels and grass. How stupid. You never worked with
your hands.
How stupid. How impractical you would wear heels in grass, as if the rest of the departments have grass, but we're walking in heels.
You know, they successfully if they actually unionized, and now they negotiate better lives for themselves, do they now just turn in so that they never actually leave? So now we sleep down here and live down here and have like we own homes on the severed floor. And now our Audis are like, do we ever get to live again? Ooh, now the Audis are the oppressed ones. Then
it just keeps us a fight. Yep. They're the Republicans and the Democrats who just pull.
This is it. This is the origin story. So anyway, this wins over Gwendolyn Christie, and she's like, okay, yes, Miss Casey, she used to come down here to do her sessions in our husbandry tanks. Husbandry Tanks is my new band name. And then the scary goat
Defiant
man.
Jazz is mine.
The scary goat man says, she said my
Audi was excelled at stargazing.
That meant a great deal to me.
You know what it takes to stargaze? To look at them. Mm-hmm. I just described it.
But again, the things that she told you about your Audi were just like, I'm looking at this guy. What will he like to hear? Right. Great stargazer.
He loves puppy chow.
Very vigorous sexual partner.
Well, that's just a really nice thing to say.
But you can tell when somebody wants to hear it.
He's great at camping outdoors.
Oh, skilled outdoorsman.
Wonderful with a butcher knife.
So one of the Go people's like, before you go, would you mind pulling up your shirt?
And pouches has come up before.
It has?
Yes, it's one of the things that Dylan says whenever he's like, just one of the times he's kind of spouting off about why they're not going to go to fucking, God damn it, data refine. What is it goddamn called?
O&D?
O&D, yeah, he mentions pouches. So, she sheepishly or goatishly asks if she could please see their bellies. I hate the word bellies, but it's very funny coming at it this way. And then they show the belly, and she says, "See, pouchless." And then her secondhand man's like, proves nothing.
We do not see Helly's belly button, though.
We don't.
What does this tell us?
That she has a high-waisted skirt on.
What else it proves nothing, Lacey.
Oh my God.
Now we're at the outside world, and the workday is ending. We are with Dylan at his home. His kids, they're playing, they're watching TV, and his wife, Merritt Weaver, is very busy leaving the house. She is a police officer. Lacey has to interrupt me. What is it, Lacey?
Poignantly, this scene comes right after she hugs and says goodbye to his innie. I just want to. There is a reason why it's smash cut to the over the head view of someone watching TV. Now that head ends up being a child, but it does imply a certain kind of laziness about Dylan, even though he just went and worked a full day's work. He's just home now.
It's even like, it even sucks for Audi Dylan. He's like, I just worked a whole day. And it's like, no, you didn't. Somebody else did that for you. Lazy
right.
bones.
So now you're going to watch your kids all night. I mean, they're going to go to sleep, but she works the night shift. That sucks. This is very Fargo. It's felt Fargo twice in one episode.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, hon. But yeah, we see Dylan and he is just lounging on the couch reading a magazine. And she's like, hey, you remember to give a medicine? Yeah. Do you remember to make the cookies for the school? No, sorry, I didn't. She's like,
it's a tube. Slice them, put it on
all you have to do with little stupid man is
she's nice about it, but you can tell she's had to do this kind of pep talk over and over. Mm-hmm. This isn't,
But she kisses him, and then he's like, "Oh, by the way, how'd it go with the thing with me or whatever?" And she's like, "Oh, it was good, weird, but good." I mean, the fact that she didn't tell him means it's kind of meaningful to her, significant to her.
That she didn't want him to kind of trivialize it or make it not hers anymore.
Or also, does she feel sort of, is this a betrayal of my actual husband? And is she now thinking, I wish I could have an affair with my any husband on one of those 18-minute breaks? Something to ponder, ladies.
A child will be watching. You're committing a crime.
Yeah, I guess
they probably shouldn't have the child watching.
But no, I mean, she's kind of acting like she had coffee with another man. Nothing happened. No, nothing happened, but yeah.
He can tell she's being cold or distant or just a little bit short.
So he looks down at his magazine. This magazine is a midlife driver.
Stop it. Is that what it is?
Yeah. The transition here makes you think that he is now reading Rick and Hale's book. But it's not. He's not. This is just the next scene where the audio is bleeding from the next scene. Where now we are at the home of Rick and Hale, and he is being visited by none other than evil Natalie.
And there's absolutely some flirtatious moments. He seems almost like a little too aloof to notice, but he is someone whose ego can be stroked easily. And she reads a passage, or they read a passage, and it is one of the stupidest ones. And
I have it for you here.
Oh, please give.
Quote, but surely beer and juleps cannot fill the void left by love. Indeed, only wine can achieve this.
Did you know that?
But it is costly, which is why sadness is among the most recurrent issues facing the poor.
So astute.
Yeah, so astute. He's like, that's what I was going for, was astute. I love Rickon's book. So this
I want to
book
read it.
It's just berating people for being poor. You dumb idiots. Why aren't you striving harder?
You're sad because you're poor. Maybe don't do that.
And then Devin comes in, and Rickon is like, oh, hey, you remember Natalie from New Lumen? And she's like, is Mark okay?
I've been meaning to say this. We don't see very many homes in this entire show, but it is very clear that Rickon and Devin have some money. It's the nicest home. It's the most unique. It's the only unique home that they could afford to go to. That birthing retreat thing is interesting. Yeah. But, then they kind of play it off because they're next to actual rich people. So it's like if there is a middle class, they're living it. And it's just, it's interesting to see. There was some of the most unique people types. we have to look. We have the super rich. We have everyone in a cookie cutter house that's living a shit life, and then we have them weirdly in the middle.
I read Rickon as coming from money. I mean, I've totally stereotyped him, but he's a type that exists in the world. He's basically the type that runs, well, the Democratic Party of the United States.
That makes sense.
Of a striver, of a person who comes from means, is now a permanent member of the professional managerial class.
Says all the right things, but would never live the life of someone who he pretends to have a bleeding heart for.
So, okay. So they're like, Devin comes in. She's like, yeah, this has nothing to do with that. She came to talk to me about my book. Yes, the book has made it down to the severed floor somehow. We don't know how, but the point is, we're very excited because it's been a game changer. And what we'd love to do is commission Rickon to write an updated version of the UUR for severed workers. So Devin says, that's cool, but what's wrong with the current version? So nothing. We've just found that there's a certain verbiage that they respond more favorably. If we tweak it here and there, and then Rickon says they think it can be a real game changer. Now, left unsaid is like from what to what, doesn't matter. But Rickon... I fucking called it. I'm never right about anything.
I wanted to offer you a dick suck.
Okay.
And a pineapple. I'm gonna dick suck you with a pineapple.
Thank you.
Yep. Because that was amazing. And I listened back to our first episode, and I like adamantly tell you, no.
So what happened in that first episode is when Adam Scott gets to look at the newspaper. So, the first episode is all about like lots happened. It's been 5 months. This is totally true. The world has changed. Severance reform. And because we are only getting the Annie Marks version of this, we don't know if this is true or not, but I guess we have no reason to think this isn't true, that out there, real big changes are happening. So if you pause on the newspaper, you can read the article, and it says Rickon Hale gave a benediction at this severance parade. And Rickon Hale, author of the UUR and some title that's like Living the 9 Principles of Keir.
Which I am the one that inspired you, because you read it out loud and I was like, of course they would trap in or wrap in the only other outside voice that's been able to seep in. They would somehow get that voice to co-sign on exactly what they've been indoctrinated to think. I just thought they were going to do it via that piece of paper, or like some other kind of like write their own version and say it was from him. I didn't realize they were really going to get him to do it. You did. You called that. Well, you immediately were like, they're gonna get him to write a book.
Whether somebody like had the idea, like, oh, here's what we should do, but this is the corporate playbook. Huh. Anyone you can assimilate into the board, you can bring on board, you do it. Some guys out there saying things, pay him to come say things for you.
Right.
Is this guy have inspiration for your employees? We'll bring him on board, and now we can control what he says.
Well, even better, these employees already indoctrinated themselves and found enlightenment and motivation to rebel poignantly based on his works. We need to immediately give them something else of his to read that has them not rebel, but be more productive.
But just everything that we saw from Rickon, and I think that the show is satirizing Rickon, a type of well-off liberal, and I keep saying liberal.
Useful idiot.
I keep saying liberal, and I'm using the word liberal as a critique of a person from the left, not in contrast to conservatives, but in contrast to a leftist, a socialist. He's totally okay to be in the bosom of corporate capitalism. Mm-hmm. Gives it legitimacy by putting it in the right kind of sort of academic wellness language.
Right.
Like MSNBC hosts who their big problem with Trump is that he's rude, not that he cuts taxes or deregulates.
Right. Makes fun of their facelift scars or whatever the hell happened with fucking Mina. Doesn't matter. Mika. Yeah. Reckon is so flattered that anyone is noticing him, but that his work is being called or could be a game changer to a whole type of people, not giving any thought to what he's aiding by lending his voice to such a powerful corporation who's hell bent on keeping everything they have and keeping their shit under wraps.
Yeah, and this can happen to the smartest people. You can be a doctor. A drug company's like, we'd love to bring you on board. We'd love to give you $8 million a year to come work for us and be on our advisory council. And all you have to do is give testimonials about how great our drug is. Like,
right.
It's just what you do.
Say how fit Trump is or whatever.
So just to talk about self-help just a little bit more, because this is a big thing in this show. It has been since the beginning. Self-help is absolutely huge in America. America, the country of rugged individualism, in contrast to, the European democracies that at least have some semblance of a social safety net, although it's going away there too. But self-help is all about the idea that you fail you and you can help you. All you got to do is work real hard, rise and grind, and it will pay off for you. And there's a long history of this in America, the prosperity gospel. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Oprah basically made her career as the face of this. And the reason this is so embraced by corporate America is that it is inherently friendly to business interest. It is inherently conservative. And then these books, The Secret. The
Sacred Knowledge, which is just think about shit different. Mm-hmm. When it doesn't go right, think it did. Yeah. It's so fucking stupid.
We know what it takes to make people, happy's even a weird, loose word.
Right.
We know what people need. They need their material needs taken care of. They need money and healthcare and shelter and clothing, human connection and everything. And the reason it's so hard for so many people is resources are scarce. To get the resources, you have to work your ass off. Your job, you're stretched so thin. When you go to your, boss and like, I'm so stressed out, what they'll do is hand you a book that says, here's a book about mindfulness, rather than give you a raise or giving you an extra day off for a week or saying you can join a union. You're in charge of feeling better about your own life.
The literal line from one of these books, and I'll bet it would be in any one of these three, and as an example is when you get up in the morning and you're tired and you think, I have to go to work. Well, instead say, I get to go to work. And it's just like, God damn, that does kind of make me feel better.
Yeah, I got to sit in on a counseling session one time with somebody who's like really frustrated at stalling out in his career, and the person's like, instead of looking at it as a
you and I sat in on the same thing.
Can you look at it as an opportunity? And the guy's like,
it was a coaching thing, right? You sat on a coaching thing. Well, because you couldn't do it that day, so I sat in on the next one.
He said the same thing.
No, he said something similar, and that's what got me to buy that fucking book that I was weird about for 2 weeks. The Work.
Yeah, I've read a million self-help books, and they do look. Self-help does help a little bit, but the point is, in a country that's all about the individual, that's like
it
never
only goes so far. Yeah,
never work together, never form any solidarity with your fellow man.
Don't rock the boat. Just be happy with the boat you're in.
Mm-hmm. And maybe your individual situation can improve. So listen, I highly recommend the podcast Citations Needed.
Oh yes, she was a guest on something I was just listening to. She's good.
There's no she. It's two men, Adam Johnson and Nima Shirazi, the hosts of Citations Needed.
Oh, this is a newsletter. This is a newsletter, citationsneeded.news.
Oh, okay.
And it's a woman.
Citations Needed with Adam Johnson and Nima Shirazi. They have an episode from 2020, episode 109, Self-Help Culture and the Rise of Corporate Happiness Monitoring. I have a link in the description, but just check out that podcast. It goes all into this history, which I'm fascinated with.
Okay, even more checkout is If Books Could Kill. They cover both The Secret and Atomic Habits and a ton of other books, and they are fucking amazing.
I like that podcast, yes.
Yes. Well, great. Matt says yes.
It's got the Matt seal of approval. Okay. Anyway, back to Severance. Devin, leaves Rick and like, okay, shithead. Well, she's like kind of dismissive of him, and he's a little taken aback. Like, aren't you thrilled with my?
She's principled, and she's very skeptical and completely. Her life is upheaved by this fucking company, and Rickon stupidly is letting this woman in here, tickling his balls, and there's a part of him that realizes she thinks he's dumb for this. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to look at that. Like, don't ruin this for me. Don't make me look at stuff. She's really good at placating him. I still do not understand how they ever ended up together. But he can see. And she wears it on her sleeve, and I like that.
But she's leaving to go hang out with her brother. And they're doing some secret spy stuff.
With felt and tacky glue.
They're like making a school project, basically.
Which we don't exactly know what it is yet, but we kind of do.
And she's explaining what's going on at her house. Natalie's over at my house. Where's the meet? No, they're after Rickon. They like his book, and Adam Scott's Mark is like, no comment on his book.
Right. They're completely distracted basically by their outie self. You know, they're not totally getting even how sinister what is happening is.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
They're so blinded by the family secret of Rickon is a fucking idiot that they think it's funny that someone's stroking his ego that way. They don't realize, like, no, not only did his book get down there, but it is the only book. There's only workbooks. They don't know that. So they don't realize, they're not thinking of it as a religion yet.
Yeah. But clearly, like, Mark has, like, probably said a lot of derogatory things about Rickon's work.
They both have.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And she's like, have you told Rickon what we're doing here? She's like, fuck no, my idiot husband. But here's what they're doing. Can you explain what they're doing?
Yes. They are cutting out felt letters to put on top of a UV light that they are going to use to try to burn the letter's message into the retina of Mark right before this is the whole stopwatch thing that he was timing. It's how long it takes him to get from his car in the parking lot to the elevator. And he's trying to find a way to burn that message into his retina for as long as it takes for his innie to see the message up the elevator.
When I figured that out, I was like, that's very clever. Hey.
It sounds fucking dizzying as shit. And to really keep the message in there, you have to close your eyes. He's going to close his eyes in the icy parking lot, go by that fucking weird lady. Like, there's just no fucking way. That's far too long for it to stay. And then think like you just left work and then you're just coming right back to work and now you kind of see a weird thing in your eyes. Is that really going to fucking do anything? You're just like, oh no, work's weird.
But
elevator's weird.
Jen Tulloch as Devin. I think she and Adam Scott have a great little brother-sister rapport. She leaves and she says, I do love you. And he says, okay. Very, very sweet.
It is really sweet. Even though you left me with the check at Pips, you dick.
There's just a little scene where Milchick takes all the portraits, looks at him. He's like, oh, this is fucked up. Pretty fucked up.
The spine says what it is. You see?
Does it?
And he tucks it in and then he turns it. So you can't see the spine.
Puts it away in the storage closet and
spins it
in such a way that nobody, you'll have to do some real digging. But
right.
then Harmony Cobell.
Her walk. I need to see the way that the actual Arquette walks because this has to be a Cobell. It is something. It is very Trunchbull.
Evil Hallie is leaving the office for the day.
We've never really seen her, just regular any go to her Audi and just go home. And it's just so interesting because she's being picked up in a car. You know, it's very different from how everybody else leaves. Although I guess she might go to a boardroom first or something.
In the first episode of the show, Mark is leaving in his car.
Okay.
And he's a little distracted and he nearly hits Audi Helly with his car. And she says, maybe watch the icy road now going forward or whatever.
Okay.
But she's like off deep in the parking lot. What is she doing out there? Something
Smoking.
to ponder.
I guess.
Cobell is out there in the parking lot and Helly approaches her. And she says, Lacey, what if we try this? What if you and I do the reading?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
You're going to give me half of it?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to be Cobell, aren't you? Damn it.
If you want me back, you must accommodate my needs.
I'm listening.
MDR, non-negotiable. Marquez is so close to completing Cold Harbor. I intend to finish the work that I started, which is why Milchick must go. He's not equipped for the task. I must be floor manager.
I hear ego, hubris, arrogance.
Ugh.
Kier teaches us they only cause pain.
Everything I accomplished, I earned through dedication and industry, not because I was born into it.
I think you've overestimated your contributions and underestimated your blessings. We didn't have to ask you back.
You didn't have a choice.
Are you sure? Why don't we reset? It doesn't have to be this way.
Dial.
Nellie. Nellie.
It's getting hot in here.
Hey. Wait, that's not true. Natalie, please see if the board is available for Miss Cobell and myself. There's no board. Let's go speak to them together.
Yeah, so Obviously everything we said.
So the board here, okay, she says, let's reset. About to fucking reprogram goddamn Miss Cobell. And the board she mentions here is literally a fucking motherboard they hook her up to and fucking twist her nipples till she's normal again. They fucking shake her at your sketch. And the reason I know this is because as she's approaching the car, this is the first time I realized she's not scared until she sees that man's face. He's the nipple pinching etch a sketch shaker, and you can just tell he looks like fucking Igor.
He's got that vibe about him.
He looks like a monster.
You were very big on this when we watched the episode the first two times.
I was medium.
She said reset. That means they're going to like reset her memories or whatever.
I didn't.
And I
just
took it
meant
as
give her a little attitude adjustment.
And in fact, the thing that you often say is like, we need to do it. Let's do a do-over.
Yes, I know. That's why this fucking show is beautiful. They do corporate speak.
Yes.
But this time, it meant twist nipples.
So Cobell's about to follow her into the room, to the building. And again, I totally don't think there's an actual board. It's just, you're just talking into a
God, Matt,
building.
you are repetitive. Is this a fucking simulation?
Cobell's gonna follow her in, but then sees the big goon and then realizes, wait a minute, they could fucking shoot me in the head. This is very dumb of me to go in. So she runs away.
Harmony. Who is Helly here? Me or you?
Sorry.
Can you quit stepping on my lines? Anyway, she books it. This woman has now taken off onto icy roads 3 times in this little tiny car.
She's asking for trouble.
She peels out. Okay, this is not a barn. Now we're over to this scene where for what we do not understand, why Marka needs to go do this like UV training thing at what seems to be like some sort of like control station that is by some sort of power structure. Like it's either the legs of a bridge he drives underneath or these are like, you know, like not a power plant, but
I was wondering like, why is he going here? In the first season, he meets Petey in like some farm. Anyway, it's
a greenhouse or something, right?
Yeah. But this is where he goes to try out his UV light trick
under the Afghan,
and realizes this is gonna be harder than he realizes. But then a figure just materializes in front of his car.
He's like, what the fuck?
This is Asal Ragabi from the first season, and she, if you don't remember, and you probably don't, was the doctor who is in charge of literally putting the implant in people's heads. And then she went rogue and she reintegrated Petey. She combined basically his 2 personas with some side effects because Petey didn't listen to her instructions. She's like, he fucking panicked the first time he saw fucking visions, idiot. But like in the first season, Mark, she called, if you recall, Mark had Petey's old cell phone and she called it. So he answered. He's like, hello. And she's like, meet me at the university. So he goes to the university and she's like, I reintegrated Petey and I can reintegrate you. And then this Lubin security guy shows up and then she just beats him to death with a bat.
What else was she supposed to do, Matt?
No, it's justified. I agree. But then Mark leaves. And now Mark sees her again. And instead of being like, holy shit, it's that murderer lady, he's like, go away.
I guess.
I love this. This is so fun. I love that the way he's playing this
plan.
is he is so annoyed right here. She's like, are you really trying to burn a message into your retinas? Because
the internet told you to? The computer told you to.
Your computer told you. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, you'll go blind. Second, the elevator dilates your retina, so it wouldn't even work. And how would your innie even send you a message back? And he's like, that's fucking his problem. I don't know. As she's saying all of this, he's just like, I got you. Yeah, all good. Will do. And she eventually forces her way into the car. I really think this is like, even though he's willing to do this UV light thing, he's still like, I hope none of this is true. I really don't want to get dragged into some vast conspiracy.
Sure, fine. But like the implications, again, we only just know our lives. We just settle into the phase we're in. And if that phase is a couple years long and it's been fine, just, man, don't make me change again.
Which I think they play it so well right after this. She basically says like, your wife's alive in Lumen. Like
last time I saw her.
Full stop. She is.
Yeah.
And he's like, huh? And he just gets out of the car and basically retches. Like this is just too big. It's too big to process.
Right. And now I have to deal with it. Here it is.
she says, like, look, I want to help you, but you have to trust me. So there is one way and one way only to get information in and out of Lumen, and that's reintegration.
He's already made his mind up. I mean, he takes no time.
Well, I love that. It's like as she's talking, he's like, yeah, no, do it.
Yeah, I want to see my fucking wife, man.
Do it now.
Yeah. So my guess is...
Well, hold on. So she says, like, I'm better at it now.
Yeah, right.
I can make it work with you. I can sew together a version of you that loves her with a version of you that, do it.
Yep, do it.
I want to see my wife.
My guess is that she's Cold Harbor. Cold because she's dead.
Gemma
half the time. Mm-hmm. But a safe harbor because she's still useful at work. So they're experimenting with using comatose people so that they can use them all the time. Cold Harbor.
How useful is that, though?
I don't
You got to wait for a person in a coma?
No, they put him in a coma.
Okay.
That's what the little snorkel's for in fucking Cobell's car.
Oh.
Yeah, it comatose her after the fucking... I don't know what it is.
See, I figure Patricia Arquette...
sleep.
I figure Patricia Arquette like hit Gemma with a car and like, oh
yeah,
no.
That's what I said.
Dragged her into the Lumen buildings like, we got to do
That's
something.
What I told you. It's just some sort of like Prince Harry, like fucking like
or Ted
clean
Kennedy
up.
thing.
Yeah, Ted Kennedy.
Oh no, I
need
ended
the
up in
cleanup.
the creek.
I need the cleanup crew.
So like, if you, Lacey, were in a persistent, I've told you this, like you're going to have to write a DNR, because if it was up to me, there's part of me that's like, I wish I were the enlightened person who's like, if she's in a persistent vegetative state, need to let her go. That isn't her anymore. But I know that I'd be like, no, if there's a 0.0001% chance that she ever comes out of it, there's no ends I wouldn't go to. Like I'd carve my brain out in the chance just to talk to you again. You're like Mr. Freeze's wife. I'd keep you alive in a vial forever, just in case I could personally come up with the cure. But this is what Mark really is doing now. So reintegration.
Let's reset. Let's you say that again without me.
She sets up this makeshift lab in Mark's basement. It has just all these brain cables and stuff. And there's a display of some waves that aren't in sync. And she starts like twisting knobs and dials. She's like, well, what is this?
This all makes great sense. Beta, gamma, theta.
Love this. This is some Cronenberg shit.
Yes.
She turns a dial and his hand starts shaking violently.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Are you okay? I don't know. Am I?
And she says, oh shit.
She's like, I'm going to start asking questions. This pushes him down.
I'm just going to hit stuff until something happens. This is very scary.
Yeah, but what? You can't go back, man. This is the 1%.
So she starts asking questions. Who am I? You're that lady. Asal Ragabi. Where are we? My basement. What was your mother's name? Fern Scout.
2 times in 1 week we hear the name Fern. Baby Boom. So weird.
Coincidence, or is the universal simulation?
I think there's only 5 words in the universe and we're using
What
them.
was her eye color? And Mark takes a second answer. She's like, seriously? Okay, I just said the thing about Lacey being in a coma, Mr. Freeze and everything. If somebody asked me what your eye color was, I'd struggle.
Okay, but what's your mom's eye color?
I have no idea.
Blue.
I have
what's
no
my
idea.
mom's color? Brown.
I can remember words and stuff. Colors?
What's your mom's words? All of them.
Name a dam.
Hoover. That's the second time.
Say?
That's the second time they put us in this time frame, in this reality. Should they have named Hoover Dam? I don't know, man.
Legorgunk Dam.
Yeah.
Lacey, ask me to name a dam.
Name a dam. John Claude. Mine was better.
What does MDR stand for? Mystic. That's wrong.
She's so mean.
What is something for which you feel shame? Well, my dog died and it was my fault. Now the 2 waves look like they're about to merge. When were you born? I'm not sure. What month is it? You mean what, quarter? We're cutting over. We're flicking back and forth between Mark waking up on the Lumen table like Helly does in the very first scene of the show, in the first episode of the show. What is your first memory? I don't know. And then the lines merge dramatically. And Mark wakes up on the Lumen table and we hear Petey's voice. And he's like, hey there, mind taking a brief survey?
How did we do today? Happy face?
To start out, who are you? And the episode ends. Very cool. I love the way this is depicted and dramatized. This is cool as hell. But I can't believe I only just realized this is the actual only moral solution to all of this is you have to reintegrate.
Right.
In the
have both.
Because I watched that episode with Ragabi from the first season, and she talks to Mark and she's like, you realize what you've done. You created a new life basically, and you're not thinking about that person's well-being or what that person wants at all. This is like giving birth to a child, because she even says, you've been severed 2 years. He's basically a baby.
Yeah.
If you give birth to a child, you do owe the child, like, you have to take care of it. And so, yeah, I think the only actual way to deal with this morally is you have to now share your body with them. That's the only way forward.
Which is exactly the end of Substance. Spoiler alert.
So that's that episode. What are our final thoughts in letter grade for Who is Alive? And also, just tell me who's alive. Well, not Jimmy Carter.
Letter grade, as I said, you asked me, I told you. Actually, you said it for me, a-hole. In the beginning of the episode, I was trying to keep it under wraps. It's a B.
Well, just, kind of synthesize everything we've said over the past hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
No problem. I'll just fucking do that. It's 9:15 at night. Yes, it opened up a bunch of possibilities, completely changed the world. And so it's going to be a new show from here on out. So for that reason, it left me feeling a little unstable. It's still really good, really very compelling. I've really grown to feel warm and comforted by these familiar things we do in each episode. So I will miss those. Will they be replaced by something better? I hope so. For that, I give it a B.
Yeah, very fun. I give it a B as well. The thing that kind of makes me a little antsy is the show going to lean a little more into, we stumble into a room and see something fucked up. What's that?
Sure.
I just hope that the show doesn't become that.
Right. Like, let's bring it all together. It all had a purpose, and I don't need it all tight, and just don't waste our time. So
the first 2 episodes had me floating on air. This one, I'm like, yeah. So B.
Okay.
Plus. Good job. And that's Lumen is listening. We are the Load Bearing Beams. I'm Matt S. That's Lacey R. We host a movie podcast. Most recently, we did an episode on the Diane Keaton movie Baby Boom, which you can find on YouTube, Apple Podcasts,
a lot of similarities with this episode of Severance.
You'd be surprised. Well, I mean, it's a movie about working life, work-life balance.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Parallel lives.
But what do we have coming up on the show, Lacey?
We have The Legend of Billie Jean.
Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
This was a listener suggestion.
I'm very excited to watch it. It's in my groove of 80s movies.
Yes. Helen Slater and your guy Christian Slater.
He's half my guy. I'd fuck a Zinni. And Spice World.
Yeah, we have Twilight on Valentine's Day.
Right.
The original,
can we go watch Twilight 2
the vampire movie? And then, have you heard of it? The vampire movie. And Spice World, February 21st. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/loadbearinggames. So this is...
And inspired by this, we will be covering The Truman Show next on our Patreon.
Yes, thank you. Yes. On our Patreon, our February bonus episode is a full-length episode about The Truman Show. A great movie, and I think a lot of continuity between Severance and The Truman Show.
And for that reason, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.